Welcome to X Marks the Spot podcast. The story you're about to listen to is all true. The only thing that has been changed are the people's names and their locations to protect their identity. Everything else has actually happened to myself and my guest in the story we are about to share today. And with that, let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to X Marks the Spot podcast. I am your host, Will, and today my special guest is Michelle. And we are actually going to be talking about friends with benefits and the actual ones that we've been with. And our drink today is rum and coke with a little bit of lime in it. So, Michelle, thank you for joining the show.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To our Cuba Libres.
Yes.
Because that's what they're actually called. A rum
Cuba
and coke.
Libres.
Cuba Libre.
I almost thought, I was like, wait. I was like, I know that's the drink. I was like, is that what we call friends with benefits?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because friends with benefits is kind of lame. Like the name rum and coke is just kind of lame because it just describes what it is. What would you call a friend with benefits? Well, I guess it's a fuck buddy.
Yeah, it's absolutely. You're just.
I guess that's
like,
the Cuba Libre.
You're my buddy. I'm your buddy. We can fuck. And honestly, fuck buddies.
Yeah.
You can
do fun buddies, also a term that people call it. But I'm like, that's such a PG lame ass version of it.
Also, I don't feel like that's gonna be in any kids movie. It's like, yeah, they're just fun buddies.
I feel like I saw it like in a teen show once, which makes sense.
I mean, I guess, but at the same time, it's still kind of weird.
What did I see it in? I feel there was a movie maybe. Like when I said that, immediately Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds came to mind.
Oh yeah,
when he was like the fat kid and he said like, I feel like he would have said fun buddy. And if it wasn't in Just Friends, I think it was Ryan Reynolds. Maybe that's why I made the connection.
In just general, yeah. But I think it was in that movie because I do love that movie.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie because Deadpool and the Hulk are in that movie. Mark Ruffalo's in there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He's the best friend when he goes back into town.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
Hang on.
Google that shit.
We're gonna Google.
No, absolutely.
We are. This is
Just Friends.
This is completely not part of the show at all. But this is how it's gonna go.
It is happening.
Cast. Oh, Fred Eunick.
Yeah, you're completely.
It looks almost exactly like him though, which is funny.
That's the friend. Oh no, okay. Chris Marquette's the brother, the younger brother. Right.
You're looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, I was looking at it.
You know, it's funny. I remember. I think the last time I watched the movie, I was also drinking, so I think that's why I associated. I was like, is that him? I was like, that's him.
No, you were probably thinking of you. This is where your brain made the connection. There is a movie with Reese Witherspoon that's called Just Friends or something along those lines, but she's in a movie with Mark Ruffalo that's called Just Like Heaven and Friends.
All the Just and Friends and everything.
Yeah, it all connected in your brain just in an instant. That's
it could have been that.
Neurons.
Yes.
Brain stuff.
All right. On that, we will go on to our fun buddies. So you have had an actual one, right? Like not one that went into like a relationship or anything. Like you guys actually were the actual, like what the definition of friends with benefits is.
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. Because, I think this is the thing with friends with benefits, right? Everybody thinks you can just do it. I mean, and there's like 2 whole movies about it, right? No Strings Attached, the Natalie Portman one, and then with Ashton Kutcher, and then funnily enough, Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake and Friends with Benefits. And it shows like, oh, they're just friends, like hooking up, and they can do it, but then they can't, obviously, because they get into relationships and they love each other. And
it's like, oh no, I like him more, or I like her. Yeah.
And I think it's human nature, right? To you're in this intimate act, and the connections grow. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, feelings definitely will happen in that whole thing because, and that's the other thing. Like if you do it once in a while, that's something. But like in their version, like they kept showing it. It was like they kept doing it like every other day. It's like and then you guys are doing things together.
Things will develop, and it's understandable. So a true friend with benefits, I think, is super rare.
Yes.
And but the situation that I had, I would totally call it like a friends with benefits. And I think I use the term friend loosely, right? Because we didn't stay friends and we weren't friends before, but we were bro-y. Like, we would hang out and like not do stuff too, which was a lot less often. But, I think it qualifies, because it was a situation that lasted like a whole year.
Right. Yeah. So you guys,
you want me to tell you the origin story?
Yes, I actually want to go. Yeah, your origin fuck story. Please tell me that.
So, Will, you and I, we met in San Francisco when I moved out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was new, early 20s, 23, living in San Francisco, living on my own for the first time. Because, obviously there's college, but, it's a different situation. This is like living on your own in a city. And so I didn't know a lot of people. I knew Will because he was my boss. That's a whole other story.
That's a funny story too.
And so I was just trying to make friends. And, the dating apps, like I even, because this was before like, Bumble and Tinder would like, had like the friends option.
Yeah.
Like you could like be like, hey.
And like those weren't like as big as they
I don't even think I was using Bumble at that time. I think I was still using Tinder.
Yeah,
because I think that was the only one.
Yeah, Tinder was really the only one that was like, okay, this is the hookup app. Like everyone knew that as the hookup app.
Yeah, but funny enough, like I had set my preferences also to women, and I made a friend off of Tinder. Like she was looking for friends too.
Yeah,
women things. Am I right? But so I met this guy on Tinder. Right, we went out on a date.
You went
grammar.
You went. Date.
We date.
You
did date.
Yeah, you did date.
Did date. And we met up at a bar. Typical Tinder things. And I specifically remember this bar. It was down by the downtown. It was, I can't remember the street. Like, I don't know why I'm getting so specific, but I feel like I need to. And it was this bar, and I don't remember the name, but it was like circus themed, or at least the name and the sign was like a jester, some shit. I'm like gesticulating into the air, trying to show Will, like having him picture what I picture. But so we met there. It was the first time I ever had a mule. He introduced me to a Moscow mule.
Oh, okay.
So instantly I was in love.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So instantly I was like, this is my fun buddy.
The way to my heart, alcohol.
Yeah. The alcohol and a cup. And I was like, oh, you're fancy.
Oh, look at you. Copper mug. Oh, shit.
That actually would be funny if that like impressed you that night, where he's like, can we get 2 Moscow mules and in copper mugs? And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And then you're like, oh, he's spending the extra bucks. And the guy's like, I mean, we got like 50 of them for $10.
This is how you serve a Moscow mule. But, we hit it off, and I was newly single and having a really bad go of it. Well, not newly. It had been about a year at least. But I was still having a really bad go of it. So I was a mess, and I was young. So, just one thing led to another. I ended up at his place. And that's kind of where it all started. And he was, I can't recall now, because, in my hazy, dazed early 20s, lots of things happened. But I want to say he was my first, like, good date out there. And, like, the first person that I really connected with outside of my job, I guess. So I think that's kind of where we bonded, because he had also recently moved out there, and then because he was from the East Coast, he was from Boston, and so we kind of had that bond. Weirdly enough, his little brother had gone to my university. It was like this whole thing. And
weird. So, okay.
So we kicked it. We hit it off, and we bonded, and we started hooking up, and it was like semi-regular. Like he'd be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And like we lived close enough, like we just lived quote unquote down the street. It was like 9 blocks away, but we lived on the same street.
Yeah.
And so I would walk through the Tenderloin. For all of you that know San Francisco, not a great walk to do as a woman in the middle of the night for a booty call.
Yes. And then just in case, so the Tenderloin in San Francisco is the worst part, well, one of the worst parts to be in San Francisco, because it's pretty ghetto. And honestly, yeah, it's super sketchy. Michelle and I both actually lived in the Tenderloin in different parts of it, but she is 100% right. Anyone walking alone in the middle of the night, dumb. But she was like, I have a mission.
I did. And I was like literally blinders on, just I would get there fine. Somehow I got there fine every time. There was one time that I think I told him to meet me halfway because I was.
You just had a bad feeling. Yeah.
I was not feeling good about the walk that day. And because I think I had like a recent like bad experience, like because I lived right by the subway station, and it was really sketchy there all the time. It was,
yes.
So we started hanging out, but obviously as we both got situated in the city, we started seeing each other a little bit less, but like we text each other every now and then, like, yo, what's up, like, how you doing, and then every now and then we would just hang out and not hook up, like, sometimes I went to go smoke with him, and we had a good time. And there were moments though that I will say, I think there's one specific moment where I did it, and then one specific moment where he did it. It was the end of 2014. He like was real fucked up and called me and left me like either one or two voicemails. And I think it was just a slip of the tongue. He was drunk, whatever, but like he was like, hey, like I miss you, I want to see you, like blah blah blah. And then he ended the voicemail, was like, love you. And it was just like a casual like, throw out. Like, I know it wasn't serious, but I was like, ooh. So we didn't talk for a while.
Yeah, but that was the 50-50 of like, was he serious? Like, was that the actual slip?
Yeah.
No, and that's 100% true with most of it, because regardless of whatever situation you are in a friends with benefits, dropping that even in the friendly, like, love you, like, no matter how tone you do it,
it just throws everything.
It will make either the person, like, your heart start racing because you're like, oh god, do they? And then you are like worried because you're like, shit, do I end it now? Because like, what if they're catching feelings? Yeah. So you stopped talking to him for a bit,
I stopped talking to him for a bit, and I think, I mean, obviously he was fucked up, so I doubt he remembers what he said, but you always know when you're that fucked up and you see that you called someone or you see that you texted someone, you just get that bad feeling. So I think he got that bad feeling that he
like that chill in your back of your head,
just
spine,
like a pit in your stomach, because he also didn't reach out to me after that for a while, because
I'm sure he knew he's like,
I said something stupid.
Yeah, he's like, I said something dumb. Like, and I'm sure he was like, he could have been like, yeah, it'd be great or fucking hilarious if we were like dating. Okay, bye. Love you. And he's like, oh, maybe it's that last part. Like, maybe he actually ran it through his head of like what he could have said, and he's like, what if I jokingly said I love you? He's like, oh my god, what if I said that?
What if I said that?
And then all the horror movies that like go through his head right now. Like,
I mean, I know I did a lot of stupid blackout shit, like with guys I was like saying. I know, like, it's funny because you think about like the stories you tell with your friends, right? Like all the stuff that you and I talk about, like all our like past dalliances, and they probably don't realize that we talk about them, just like we don't realize that people talk about us. I know I know I am the crazy person in at least two guys' stories, because I was a fucked up mess after my breakup. During that time,
and I'm sure I've turned in some people's stories to like, yeah, he's crazy, and I'm just like, I just ended things, like, but I mean, at the same time, it's everyone's different perspective. Like, you never know how you actually come off, because again, I'm sure there are stories that you and I've told each other and we're like, yeah, this is exactly how it happened. But then in their eyes, because maybe like emotions or whatever, they're just like, yeah, like he yelled at me a lot. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I was like 20 feet away from you. I was like, all right, well, have a good life. She's like, and then he like screamed at me.
It's like, it's that saying, right? There's his version, her version, and the truth. Or
the everyone's their own hero in their own story kind of thing. Like no one wants to be the bad person in it, but at the same time, like, we know when we were. It's like, we know when we had to end relationships. We know when, like,
if you're self-aware enough.
Yeah,
which I like to think I am.
Everybody out there, please be self-aware. Like, just realize that no matter what you do, we're all kind of the bad guy. And when any relationship, it's like you could do everything right, and it still sucks because no matter what, you're the bad guy in one way or another.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely the bad guy in plenty of stories, and crazy person. Like, for example, so while I had this thing with. Let's call him Boston Boy, because that is what I called him at that time to all my friends.
Boston Boy, I like it.
Because I had multiple suitors at the time, and I referred to them as different kinds of boys. So Boston Boy was my friends with benefits, and I think if I'm recalling correctly, what led to that phone call is that we hadn't hung out in a while because I had started seeing a guy that I really liked.
Right.
Giants Boy.
Yes,
who I had met at the Giants bar in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really liked him. He was really cool. We met. I hadn't moved into the city yet. And I drove in because I was like, let me go meet people. Let me go to the city because I was about to move into it. I was living up in the North Bay, up in Marin with my cousin.
That, yeah.
And I took the bus down. And I went to the bar because I knew it was there. And I'm like, I'm a big football fan. I want to see the Giants play with people who appreciate it. And I had the greatest time. And I got really blackout because I was by myself sitting there. So I was just like, drink.
Everybody's fine.
Yeah. And so I met him. And we had a great time. We really enjoyed each other's company. And I was, my super extroverted, wild, drunk self. So obviously everybody was gonna love me.
Yeah. At a baseball bar, everyone was like, "This girl's hilarious." Baseball bar.
At a what?
Giants. Right?
New York Giants.
Oh.
Football bar.
I thought this was still in San Francisco.
It was in San Francisco. There was a New York Giants bar. There's a New York Giants bar.
I thought you were talking about the San Francisco Giants.
No.
Oh, this was a New York.
Yeah, so it was especially
So you're saying this shit like I should know. I'm like,
well,
from California.
Me.
Yeah, well, there's also a Giants bar.
I get it, but there's 1,000 Giants bars, but this was my Giants bar.
Well, I didn't think we had one in California.
So it was I think it was particularly impactful for me because it was like home.
Yeah, so you had this huge home feeling and
it was so we had that connection.
And you had a huge you had a bigger connection with everybody else because it's everyone loves this team that you love because it's home and this and that. So
yeah, so that guy, we really hit it off. And, I was excited about it. And like I said, I had been going through had gone through, still kind of going because, he kind of liked to keep me on the hook because he was a piece of shit. And we went on a few dates and I think, I was like, let's get right to it. So I was maybe a little bit too pushy with him because I think after I don't know, maybe after a month and maybe 6-7 times out, he stopped texting me. And then I got upset about it. And I'm pretty sure I blackout texted him and was like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And I honestly don't even remember what I said, but I know it was the same kind of feeling that Boston Boy had when he left me that voicemail. Yeah. But so while all this was going on, he was probably like, hey, I miss my fun buddy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we went to. And then after that, I don't remember what kind of brought us back together. I think we might have ran into each other somewhere out and about because for a city, San Francisco is kind of small.
Yes.
And there are certain places, people in their youth. So we started hooking up again and it was cool. It was no feelings. We'd hang out again, just chill. And then at one point I was like, oh, maybe I have feelings. and I was like, I should back off and let's go see other people.
Let's not ruin this. So when did you guys both either know it was over? When was that? When
he left San Francisco.
When did he leave? Was it so around the time that you just mentioned you're like, oh, I caught feelings. I should stop talking to him. I should date other people. Were you two still seeing each other when you were dating others? And how long did it last before?
Occasionally. I mean, we didn't, I think we were both, it was an unspoken thing that we knew that we were seeing other people and we were cool with it. And I think one time we explicitly talked about it, but yo, you're being safe. We were obviously safe for ourselves, but I was like, I think we were drunk because I only like vaguely remember this conversation, but I'm not the only person you're hooking up with. You're not the only person I'm hooking up with. We're good here, right?
Yeah.
Like let's be adults.
Yeah.
And
we're both being smart
yeah.
outside of this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think when I caught feelings, I backed off for like a month, and then I was like, oh yeah, you know what? He's kind of like really fratty, and I like he's fun, but like I don't want to date this guy. What am I thinking? And like, you know me, I'm like a frat boy myself.
Yeah. So dating like your mirror reflection as a guy,
it was like a no-go.
Yeah.
But so, you know, so things kind of went back to normal, but eventually like he told me, he was like, yeah, like I got a gig, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, his company there moved him back to their office out east.
Oh, okay.
So he was telling me, and I'm like, all right, well, let's hang out until you're gone. And we did. And I remember the last time we hung out, because it was like, it had like worked out perfectly. So his roommates were like moving out too. And like I had become kind of friends with them too. And so it was like fun. Like we all hung out. We watched like a movie. We like smoked. And then, you know, me and him like said our goodbyes.
Yeah.
And you know, I think the next morning he took me out to breakfast, and like, you know, we said our goodbyes and whatever. And it was like emotional, not in the sense that like, oh my God, I'm in love with this guy. It was like I truly was saying goodbye to a friend. And like, and then later, like being like the big mush that I am, I like texted him like, hey, like I really appreciate you like as a human, and like, you know, you were one of the first people I met out here, and you know, I'm sad to see you go, but you know, fucking kill it out there. And you know, he said like similar nice things to me, and it just ended well. You know, it was a good from start to finish. And like, I think, like we said before, being self-aware is like really important.
Yes.
I think we were both self-aware enough to step back when the relationship, quote unquote, wasn't suiting us. And like, then we were like, hey, I can get back into this. So I think that's what made it really work the way it did.
Which is good. And it's funny because like, that's kind of how it always has to be. Like when you know you're in a friends with benefits or a fun buddy situation or whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. But both parties have to be aware of it. You have to be.
That's always what happens though, is that eventually one person isn't.
Yeah. And so like on my end of what happened on that situation was, so funny enough, I actually knew this girl from high school. Years go by, this and that, you know, life, you know, catches up with you. You're just like, oh, I'm out of high school. Like now I have to be an adult. Like I have a job, this and that.
What the fuck is happening?
What do I do? She reached out one day. This might have been like 3-4 years after high school. And she just wanted to like know how I've been doing, this and that. So we started chatting. And then next thing I know, like she wants to hang out. Cool. I wasn't really sure where anything was going, because funny enough, around the same time like you, I got out of a relationship and I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel, like everything's kind of weird, this and that. And then you know, she came over, and so again I was just so unaware of like, I was like, maybe I'm just having a friend who wants to hang out. Well,
you're also really unaware all the time.
A lot.
You're like, does this girl like me, or is it just in my head?
Basically,
usually they like you. And
basically,
you're like,
a girl could just like take off her panties and throw it at me. I'm like, maybe she's hot. Like maybe down there. Maybe I mean, and it's like
maybe she just needed to air things out. I don't know.
And people are like, well, it's December. I'm like, yeah, but maybe like, you know, sometimes it gets stuffy, I think, down there. I don't know. And so that was kind of the case with this. Like I was still very unaware. And again, like I was also very young, early 20s.
Yeah. When we're all a mess. We're all a mess.
Yeah, we're all a mess. We have no idea what's going on. So everybody who's listening to this and you're like, I'm 20, you don't know what's going on. Yeah. It's going to get rough. But so her and I hung out, and I remember we were watching something, and I remember just like us sitting there, and she's like, do you mind like if I lay down? We were absolutely on a couch, because I remember that. And then I go, yeah.
Well, this was what? You're an old man, so this was like 1967,
I
right?
mean,
so
this could have been like in the 30s. No.
So like, you know, old Hollywood era type movie.
Yeah. I mean, this was also still in our era where like you could have gone to like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and like done the like,
oh shit, that
so like the early like Netflix and chill kind of thing. But no, so again, and you know, we were watching something and then she lay down on the couch and I still was like sitting and she goes, "You can lay with me." And I was like, I think there's something here.
Maybe I can touch her.
Yeah. And so we cuddled, and then the whole time I was like, well, she's not bothered by it, so I'm gonna guess she's into me. And then of course we started making out, and like probably like 20 minutes later, because I'm still an idiot and I was like panicking the entire time. And then lo and behold, we did like hook up.
Did the stuff.
We did the things without the pants on. And the biggest thing though about that is that after we got done, we had that conversation of like, so how are you feeling, like where this is going, this and that.
So you were like super awkward, like you
no, it wasn't me. She brought up because she wanted to know like where this stood and this and that. And so I told her what happened with me.
She was like, she wanted to DTR right away.
Yeah, she was like, so let's get this out, like what's going on here. Because she also got out of a relationship too. And so in a sense for her, she's like, I don't mind this. If we hang out, we do this.
That's cool.
Great. And again, I've never had this before. This is a thing. Like, I was like, okay, awesome. So we ended up hanging out for like another couple hours, and then I took her home. And then I remember this on that drive back, I was like, okay, so this exists. Like, it's friends real. With benefits.
It's a thing.
Yeah. And then, you know, next time we hung out, sex is on the agenda. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you know, every time you're hanging out with someone, you're like, I'm going to get sex from this person because we've already done it and we like each other. So it was this whole constant thing of like we were doing. But I remember around like.
So you always had sex when you hung out?
Yes, except for like 2 times. Okay. And I remember because one time, and this is where I got concerned.
So would you still, I guess, define yours as a friends with benefit? Because like I had the situation where like we would occasionally hang out and just bro it out.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, so, and that's what it was at a few things, is like, we did actually do like, we went to dinner, this and that. Like, we actually had like a fun time.
Like dated. No,
we kind of like, well, like we kind of like went on a date, but like for her, it was also because she didn't, in a sense, she's like, I don't want to feel cheap. And I was like, that's fine. Okay. I was like, we can actually go out.
Fair. And I think that's friend-like.
Yeah.
That's friend-like.
And
you were like, I respect my fun buddy enough to not make her feel cheap.
But, and I mean, weird example, but it'd be kind of like if you and I always hung out at each other's place, we'd be like, can we just go get pizza like outside or something? Like, and that's the thing, like, you can always hang out with your buddies and like you guys can always play games, or you guys are always doing this. It's like, but there's a point where you're like, hey,
do something else.
Yeah, can we not go from one couch to another? Like, can we just go out and do something?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what it is. Let's go to a movie.
This is an adventure.
Yeah, let's do something. So I think that's where her mind was going. Is like, we were going from one place to another only. And as much fun as we always had, it was also at the point of like, we could also do something like literally outside.
Yeah.
And then come back and do things like, so, but that was the one part where like it scared me, because I was like, are we on a date?
Okay, wait. So question though.
Yeah.
Did you pay? Or did you split it? So
there was a few times I did pay, only because she wasn't working as much as I was.
So we're dissecting this now, because
that's
a little date-like. That's a little, and I guess that's where your confusion.
So that's where it did come up at times, because I was like, this is kind of a date. But then the next time she'd pay. I'm like, so there's the splitting of like the date of whatever it is.
Because that is totally a friend thing to do. It's like, oh, I got you this time. You
exactly. Or, you know, like when you go out to the bar with your friends, you're like, hey, I got the first round, like, or like, drinks are on me tonight, next time it's you, you know, things like that. So the only time I knew this was like kind of going great and everything was also because we knew, same thing like with you two, we knew we were also seeing other people at times, but we both were like, you're being safe also, right?
Yeah. It's like, you don't talk about it, but you talk about
it. You have to mention it.
Yeah. And
so we, you know, this went on for maybe like 6 months. And it was fun. But then, you know, I was like, maybe there's feelings here and there. I actually even helped her move into her apartment and everything, because
look at you dashing gentleman.
I'm just being so nice. But also at the same time, it's also my friend. Like, it's not just someone, all right, I'm like, I'm going to help her, and then she's going to help me. Like, and that didn't even cross my mind, because I was like, you know what? I was like, she literally needs help. And then she has to unpack and she has to make that place her home.
Right.
So it wasn't until around that time, though, I think maybe like a month or two in, she wasn't texting me as often. And, you know, at times I'd be like, hey, like, what's up? Like, are you doing anything on Friday? Like, would you like to hang out? And she'd be like, I actually already have plans, but we could like hang out on Saturday. I was like, I have work, but I get off around this time. And we still would, but it seemed like
it was fizzling out.
It was fizzling out. And then it felt like there was a lot of like planning around things. Okay, this seems kind of weird. And then we didn't talk for almost like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I'd reach out and be like, hey, you okay? Like, because again, for 6 months, we were like texting almost every other day. And then just out of nowhere, she stops texting me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope she's okay. Like in my mind, I'm thinking almost like, she injured? She go to the hospital or something? And then
she in a coma?
Yeah. Did she? Is her phone in her hand and she's trying to send that last text, but she's in that coma?
She just can't do it.
Yeah. But so she actually ended up texting me and being like, hey, can we talk on the phone? I went,
okay.
I went into like scared mode.
She's pregnant.
She's pregnant. I was like, girl, pregnant. I was like, now we gotta make.
Daddy.
Yeah, now we gotta make a relationship. Like, what the fuck? But it wasn't that. She actually, for those 2 weeks, she was having a hard time of like how to tell me she met somebody. Yeah, dun, dun, dun. No. And I remember, so we talked about it and I got silent for a second, and that's amazing. I was like, how is he? Like, you know, does he treat you well? She's like, him and I get along so well. She's like, it's just, I didn't know exactly how you felt. You and I already established we are friends with benefits. We know if we meet someone, we had to tell the other. I was like, and she's like, it's just, you know, it's been so long of like you and I doing this that like I figured one of us developed. She's like, and I won't lie, she went, at one point I did, but I remember around that time you brought up the like, you know, I'm glad we have this because we have this like comfort that like if
brought it back down to
yeah, like if we had like a bad date, it's like I can just go to this person and I can sleep with them, get it out of my system, and then we can literally just hang out.
Yeah.
We can smoke a J, whatever. And so she was like, that was my like backup happiness.
Yeah.
She went, it was just, she was like, yeah.
That's a
good way, right?
I think that's the Cuba Libre of friends with benefits.
Yeah, the backup happiness.
The backup happiness.
I actually love that. That's on a shirt. Nobody steal that. That's mine now. And no, but that's 100% true because it was literally there's literally no strings attached. There's no fault between either. There's no downfall of there's like literally hanging out with your friend, having sex, and then both of you can literally just still hang out. And you could even talk about the date that you went on. And it's like, oh, that's a bummer. It's like, so like, what didn't work for them, like for you? And so what ended up happening with this, so she met a guy, they went on a couple dates and they were having, and she's like, now I have to tell Will. She's like, what do I do? And so I was so happy for her that she found him. I was like, no, that's amazing. I was like, again, this is what it was. I was like, it sucks for me.
Like,
because
fuck my life, but
because
like, good for
now,
you.
I was like, now I don't get to have like great sex. I was like, but this is what we both knew it was going to be. Like, one of us was going to meet somebody eventually. And then that's it. So that's what I really liked about the Friends with Benefits, especially with her, because we both knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
We knew from the entire time of what it was. There was no hidden secrets, this and that. And I mean, I will say,
and I think that's what you know, what you said, you were truly happy for her. And I think that's what it comes down to.
That's what it is.
Right? Because that's what you want for your friends. You want them to be happy.
You want them to, you know, succeed in whatever they do. And that's the other thing. And it also becomes hard because when like you really lay it out on paper, it's like, well, no, that means like you're their boyfriend. It's no. It's like, I can be happy for like you or any of my female friends or even my guy friends. Like, but it doesn't mean like I'm going to date all of you. Like, that's not what it is. Like, for her, it's...
Unless you're a big old slut.
Yeah, I mean...
Like you.
Yeah. But with her, it was just... We knew exactly what it was, but she was just afraid that like maybe I developed it. Because I kept... For her, she said, because I kept reaching out to make sure she was okay. Ah, shit, he's not making this easier because maybe he actually did. I went, no, it's just you weren't replying. And so I actually was worried. I was like more in the sense of like being a good person that my friend could be injured.
She was MIA.
Yeah, she was. And so
she could have been down a mountain with a broken leg with a coyote gnawing at her toes.
Trying to get that one part. to be like, help me. So, and it's nice that, you know, we actually have similar stories of that. And honestly, I really hope anybody who's listening one day either experiences that or actually has that, because honestly, I have also had the friends with benefits that's turned into a relationship.
Me too.
And it becomes problematic because
it at that point it is a relationship that's undefined.
Yeah.
And it ultimately causes a lot of problems because you both have certain expectations and they're different, so it fucks with everything. And they, you know, no matter what kind of relationship, the communication part is key. Even if it's you know, backup happiness.
Yeah. Haha.
TM.
Trademark. Yeah.
or like, you know, an actual romantic relationship with a partner that you love. Like, the communication part is key in making sure you're on the same page to move it forward or keep it stagnant, you know, in terms of friends with benefits, right? Because it's not going to move past a certain point, a friends with benefits relationship, a true
the only one that's going to move past it is you guys are literally going to go in different directions.
Yeah,
you're going to find somebody else, and there's going to be that whole thing,
or it goes into a romantic
or it goes into that. But again, communication, and I mean that's pretty much like the summary of all relationships, no matter what it is. Like, communication is key, because if you never knew from the beginning, like, you were in a friends with benefits, it's because someone wasn't talking about it, or you never asked. You're like, hey, what is this?
Yeah, like, it would have been weird if, like, you know, Boston boy thought we were dating, and meanwhile I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing this guy,
I'm going out with this guy and this guy,
and then check out my friends with benefits, like, he's so cool and chill.
And then there's boss boy, let's just say he's like, I brought you flowers, and like, we're going on a date. You're like, oh, you're like, technically I have slept with so many dudes.
So many.
But like, and that's the other thing too, is I know people have gone through that because they don't know what they're in.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it literally would just be if you just asked, or if the person or you just said like, hey, this is what this is. Yeah, it's again, this is where it goes back to someone's got to be the bad guy. Yeah. Always.
And it's not even just being honest with each other, it's being honest with yourself.
Yeah,
because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm totally cool with this, but they're not.
Some and people will say it, and you're like, no, that's totally fine,
I'm cool with this, but
that's great.
But then you get mad when they don't text you back, when they can't hang out, and that's not what you agreed to. So you're not allowed to be mad.
Exactly. And then it also causes more issues because then you're jealous, and it's like, yeah, this is not a friends with benefits anymore. This is something you want. Yeah. A situationship. Yeah. I like that. That's a good one.
So do you know, we didn't give your girl a nickname.
No, we will call her Fairy Tale.
Okay. Ooh, whoa. She's like up on this pedestal.
Well,
now
because
like,
think about it. Think about like with the whole situation, as you think about like literally a good friends with benefits is like everyone's dream of like, I wish I could have that. It's like, I did have that.
Okay, so Fairy Tale.
Yeah.
Do you know where she's at these days?
Yeah, so she's actually, I believe, still in our hometown. And last I checked, she actually met a different guy. They're currently living together, and I believe they're happy. Like nice. I think last time her and I talked, she's like, we're doing very well. As we mentioned before, was communication. She's like, we always talk things out. She has told me, she's like, I have been so annoying to him that she's like, I know he can hear me right now as he's playing video games and I'm on the phone. She's like, but he knows that if there's an issue, I will keep him up at night and be like,
we're talking this out.
You're talking this out. She's like, I don't care if you're going to be tired going to work. You're going to talk it out, and you'll be like, just let me go to sleep. I will. Yeah, I will let you sleep. Tell me what's wrong. So I've always appreciated her that, because she was that person. Like, she will pull it out of you. Like, she's like, I don't care how uncomfortable you are. Tell me what's wrong. Yeah. And so that's where I know she's at now.
Kind of girl.
Yeah. And I think It won't give her away. If she listens to this, she'll know who exactly she is now, though. But she actually also works at a dispensary.
Ooh, fun.
Which is hilarious because she was one of the stoners in high school who basically was always told, like, you will never make like a living, make a living off of pot. And she's like, now I make a living selling pot. I'm living my dream.
She is the fairy tale.
She is the fairy tale. So I really like that. And then I know Boston Boy, you said he moved back out east and he's still with the company. Have you talked to him?
I have not talked to him since he left, but we followed each other on social media for a bit. He's married.
Oh.
Yeah. And is it weird that I was a little offended I wasn't invited?
You're like, I could have made this happen. I probably did make it happen.
Yeah, I know. Like, I set him up to be the perfect man.
I'm offended I wasn't invited. I'm sure that would go well. She's like, so how do you know him?
Well,
we went to a baseball game one time.
In San Francisco. The Giants, actually.
The Giants. Yep. You're like, it was nice meeting you. You look beautiful. Bye. I'm going to go enjoy your open bar now.
Thanks for the invite. LOL.
Yeah. And she's like, I like her. You're like, please don't.
No, but I was happy for him too. Like,
of course.
Just because it's cool. Like, he, he went back home and obviously that's where he belonged. I mean, I can relate to that because I moved back home too, and
yes,
it's just a much better fit, and I'm happy for him because I'm happy for me.
See, and that's what it always has to be there. But so this was fun as always. Like, I enjoy talking about all these things, and like there's so many different kinds of relationships that everyone's been through, and it's nice that it's always relatable. Yeah, everyone's relatable on these stories. But like, what's funny is when people are like, oh, like my story's never happened. It's like, pretty sure it has.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so again, on this show, we always do a nice raise of our glass and we say cheers to my ex.
Cheers to my ex.
Michelle.
Not
really an ex, but that's what we do.
Definitely cheers to this ex.
Yeah.
To my other ones.
Michelle, thank you for joining on X Marks the Spot podcast. And everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode, listening to us being goofs about this. And, we'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to X Marks the Spot podcast. Episodes are released every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Just simply look for X Marks the Spot podcast. If you have a story you'd like to share and be on the show, please feel free to reach out at xmarksthespotpodcast@gmail.com or DM us on any of our social media. Thank you again for listening.